Back in the workshop today after a few days doing other, less exciting stuff. Well, actually, tell a lie. Less exciting to you lot, but I enjoyed most of it. Anyway, back here today. I haven't been here for nearly a week, I don't think. Either way, I've been having to tidy up. It's still a, don't get me wrong, it's still a mess because there's just so much stuff going on. If I'd have done it before and after, you'd know what I mean, but this was just shitloads of stuff. I mean, it's not tidy yet, but it's, yeah, I've got like various piles of things that's got to go in different places. But I was mostly tidying around the MX5 because, well, I want to get on with it. And most of all, I want to get this rear bar that I got from both racings, GC Fabrications one, which I was seen in a previous video about this car, in the MX5. I think my first job will be to mock it up. So I need to actually work out how it sits and everything else. Obviously hard top off, which is pretty easy, and I work from there because I haven't got the foggiest, to be fair. I've never done this before. I've had an MX5 with a hard top, but it was already done and it never had a roll bar. Well, weirdly, that car that had the hard top once upon a time had a full roll cage, but the previous owner took it out, which was a shame because I'd have liked a full roll cage, but whatever. So yeah, this in, that. This is the point that basically anybody with an MX5 hard top or soft top would be at once they've unbolted all the normal panels, the plastic trim, the soft top. I can, looking at it, you probably don't have to remove, you wouldn't have to remove the soft top necessarily to fit this. I'm not sure, I'm not going to tell you can. I'm sure there's plenty of instructions online, but yeah, this is no cutting, no nothing, how it is on mine, with bits and pieces removed, mega dusty. You can see where a mouse or something has made a nest in here at some point, because don't forget this shower was standing for years. It's pretty damn tidy, but part of the reason it's tidy is because it just stood doing nothing for about 4 years, I think. So yeah, looking at this, I would say first thing that's definitely got to go is this bar. I'm 99% sure I've got to unbolt that because I'm 99% sure the cage goes there somewhere. So yeah, these look like 19, somewhere between 17 and 19. So let me get a spanner, get these buggers off, and we'll go from there. I'm going to hoover up all this shit if I can. There's a hoover over there. I presume it works. Never done it before. I'm going to clean all this crap up before the next bit. One sec. That's better. A much more pleasant working environment. Not clean, just hoovered because it was dusty as hell. So, even did the floors. So yeah, not too bad. Thanks to Green Henry. What's the Green Henry called? I don't know. Can't be Henry if it's green. Whatever. Green Henry, you did good. So yeah, right, and this is cleaned up. Now, I can only guess. I don't know. I reckon I just try and plonk it on, and that will work out what what fits or what doesn't fit. I would like, in all honesty, to chop away any metal I don't need, but I don't know what that is. Thing is like this, it's a big old chunk of metal, but looking at the bar, I'm wondering if this bolts to it. I don't know. Let's do a mock-up, plonk it in position, and we'll work it out from there. first mock-up says to me, I need to double check. I better, before going all guns blazing, I better have a nosy. But I reckon this bit needs to be removed because those legs go there. And yeah, it looks to me like this bit, the harness bar bit, sits on there, which I almost think it's a shame because I was looking forward to cutting away some metal, but whatever, it'll be fine. So yeah, I'm just going to quickly pause the video and have a nosy on the internet and work out before I cut something I don't need to. And yeah, if anyone had any sense, they would do this a two-man job, because obviously it's not heavy, but it's awkward. But instead, I'm doing a one-man job, and I've got a really bad back at the moment. It bloody hurts. So this is a stupid idea, but you can, you know, basically, if I can do this on my own, then somebody who's not half crippled with a bad back at the moment could do it on their own too. So yeah, 1 second, I will find out.
2,000 years later.
Well, yeah, just spent a couple of minutes Googling, and yeah, my suspicions were right. You had to remove that little lip bit on either side. Luckily, it's only really thin metal and held on with 4 spot welds either side. The proper way you had meant to do it would be to drill out the spot welds. Frankly, although that's not exactly difficult, right next to me was an angle grinder, a chisel and a hammer. So I went the old school way. Not really old school, just a bodgy way, but it works perfectly fine. I mean, I've done it millions of times. And that is slightly weaken it by cutting a few slots, you know, every inch or so on it, you know, 4 slots, whatever it was. And then literally bend it back a little bit. Now you've weakened it, because obviously it can separate. And then just literally get a chisel on top of each spot weld, whack it with a hammer a couple of times, and it's through. And then just like a spot weld, all you'd really need to do after that is give it a little finish with, you know, an angle grinder, well, a flappy sanding wheel ideally. I haven't done that yet because it doesn't matter for the mock-up. In case you didn't realise what I meant about chopping, you know, slots out of it, like this, basically. I cut 1, 2, 3, 4 slots, 1 to 2 inches apart, just to weaken the thing. Obviously it sits like, well, I think that's from that side, whatever. Sits like that. Then I got the chisel and bent it out slightly to, you know, weaken it and get closer to the spot welds. And I just whacked it a couple of times with a hammer above each spot weld, and it falls off. Easy. So yeah, I think this should sit where it should sit. You know, don't quote me on this, but I think this is what happens. Let's have a look. This leads me to the next thing, which I'm kind of glad about, because you know I said I wonder how much metal I can cut away. The answer is clearly all of that, because this can't fit there. So that's good, that suits me, because I wanted to get rid of that. I was pretty sure you could, because I was sure I'd seen MX5s like this before. I'm pretty sure my my Cosy engine one was like it, but I took so little notice because I was just enjoying driving it that I don't remember, and my memory is terrible. So yeah, by the looks of it then, this now fits there, but you have to choppy chop back there to fit it properly, which is fine by me, because, well, I've always wanted to get rid of that, so time to finally do it. Right, and I'm going to turn the camera back off because frankly I haven't got enough hands for this shit. Right, I've done some chopping. Way too much chopping. Wow, for most people, for what I want to do, this is fine. But this is one of those cases of do as I say, not as I do, because you don't have to cut anywhere near as much as this away. Depending, obviously the more you cut away, the easier it is. But in reality, with two people and a lot of wiggling, you can cut away very little. In fact, I'm not even convinced you need to cut this out, because the reason I thought you had to cut this out, same reason most people do, is because the most commonly seen instructions on the internet is for a different version of the cage where it bolts to there. You know, that's where the upright goes. But on this one, it's much wider and much further forward and bolts to there. So maybe you don't need to remove that. It sure as hell makes it easier to, you know, wiggle into place. But if you was sort of determined to cut out the bare minimum, bearing in mind all of this gets covered back over with the original trim and you can't see it anyway, so you know, it don't really matter. But if you're really determined to not cut any out, it's possible, maybe, I wouldn't bank on it, but it looks like it might be, to leave that in place. And it's certainly possible to only cut a very small hole here, you know, just enough for the rear legs. Most people cut more. I think even GC Fabrications recommend you cut like a, you know, 3" by 5" or whatever hole. But because, well, my car is, it's going to be very stripped anyway, and frankly I like things to be as simple as possible, especially when it's finished, you know, just to work on and all that. I cut out a fair bit more. I could have, and it would probably make no odds, cut literally all of that out. But I thought, because honestly this stuff's like super thin, you could cut it with tin snips, it's that thin. I kind of like the idea, seeing as it wouldn't help me in any, like, it wouldn't gain me any more room. I kind of like leaving that little bit in the middle, joining the rear bit to that. All the rest, I weren't even remotely fussed, because it was floppy as anything, even before you've cut it. It's like, that's not got any strength to it. But this bit is relatively solid. It's still super thin, but it's just because of the positioning or whatever, it's under a bit of tension. Or compression, yeah, whatever it is. It kind of looked like, yeah, I'll leave that, and it will gain me nothing. I wouldn't save any weight because weight is so thin. It's not going to gain me any room because of the position of it. So I'm leaving that bit, but the other bits I've cut out. And yeah, now I am 99.9% sure this will just drop into place. So, wow. Time to watch me have a go at it again on my own. And the car's like up in the air as well. It's on axle stand, so it's not even like I've got to lift it the normal amount. It's much worse, but whatever. I'm never one for asking for help, and there's nobody here today, and I'm never one for saying to like mates or whatever, oh, can you come and help me with shit. I just like to just do it and be self-sufficient. So yeah, right, I'm going to plonk the camera there and we're gonna have a go. Shazam! It's in. It is in. And yeah, it's pretty obvious how it all sits now. You got to drill 4 holes there and, you know, bolt it in through the car. Same on this, it looks like 3 holes either side, and it sandwiches it all in. Well, you can see where it sits because that's like the seat belt holes, so you can work it out. Obviously I'm not reusing the seat belts, but I will put bolts through that because it'll be a good structural thing. Do you remember in the last video I said about another brand of these that's very common and very popular? They work, you know, people have lots of crashes with them, but they are so much narrower, and it's like, just seems dodgy to me. Whereas this is like much wider, so it will do the job, you know, as good as humanly possible, is probably the easiest way of saying it. It's hard to say without doing a side-by-side with some pictures, but believe me, from ones I've seen, this sits so much wider than the other ones that are very common. And this is the main reason I didn't fancy one of the other ones, even though, I mean, they work, but it just, I don't know, too narrow. It's a bit dodgy, whereas this is bang on. And yeah, it looks cool as anything. I mean, the car's gonna have a roof on and it's never gonna have the roof off because I don't do convertibles, but that does look badass. It's almost a shame to hide it hide it with a roof. But there you go. Just had a quick look at how the door bars would fit, and honestly it's dead easy. You've got the 4 holes there which bolt in front of the original 4 holes from that. You know, it goes into the same place. And at the front, it's 2 more bolts that are already part of the chassis. So it sort of sits kind of like that, roughly. Also, it's not in place yet, so I'm holding it. But, yeah, job done. Looks pretty easy. I don't think it will significantly affect how those seats are going to fit. But I just don't really think they're going to fit anyway. I don't know. I really don't know. The thing is, as you probably would have seen from previous videos, I've hammered the living hell out of the transmission tunnel. So there's more room width-wise, because there had to be to fit those buggers, than a typical MX5. So maybe it'll fit, maybe it won't. I mean, only way I will know is to try. But if they don't, I don't care. I'll just fit different seats. I'm not gonna give up the door bars or the rear bar just to fit those seats, because that kind of seat is way too wide normally for an MX5 anyway. That's a proper rally car seat. So, don't know. Also, apologise for the noise, but it is chucking it down outside and it makes it kind of noisy on the roof. So yeah, that's where I am now. I guess now I need to work out exactly where this bolts in and drill some holes. 1 minute it was in place, 1 minute it's removed, but the reason is so I can drill the holes for the rear bit. What I would say is to make your life, because thing is when you put it in, it's like, hang on, is this in the right place? But all you need to do to be sure is put the bolts back through there, because it's only backwards and forwards is a bit like, is this going to be in the right place? Left to right, there is no room, so don't worry about that. It's just like if you've got this at the correct angle, and but if you put a bolt through each of those, it is literally jammed in exactly the right place. You got no hope of it getting wrong then. So do that, then mark the holes. You could use a pen, and I tried with a pen, but it's not very good. But my favourite trick for marking holes to drill is like a pick. This is an actual genuine snap-on pick, which I found at a petrol station on motorway services once. But either way, just any old pick, and you know, you're using the original holes and you scrape some circles, and that's when you know roughly where to drill. I say roughly because you can never be 1,000,000%, but whatever, what can you do? You can spend weeks getting it right and it'd be no different really. So yes, as I presumed, super thin metal just tears straight through it. These Milwaukee cordless drills are amazing, by the way. Literally, I got it because it was cheap from I don't know, Screwfix or somewhere. But it's powerful as hell. It lasts forever. It takes about 10 minutes to charge up, even when it does rarely need charging. Bloody brilliant. But anyway, that's one side. Let's do the next side. It's that easy. I'm gonna hold the camera while doing it this time. Right, so line it up. Start it off gently. Last one. Shazam! That easy. So yeah, now, with any luck, as long as the holes are, well, to be honest, it doesn't matter now, because thankfully, these holes don't have to be like bob on. I'll double check now with as they're not too small, but they can be a bit big, because don't forget, these aren't like exactly where it's going to sit. You know, the body is sandwiched between the two metal plates, so it doesn't really matter. Obviously don't make a fucking mess, but don't worry about it being millimeter perfect, which is practically impossible. But don't worry too much, because it's all about it being sandwiched between it, and obviously the fittings that supplied are very proper, high quality, high tensile stuff. I've had cages fitted to cars, like custom welding cages, and then you got to try and paint that when it's in the car, and that is a nightmare. Really not fun. So the fact this comes nicely, I'm pretty sure powder coated, really nicely powder coated black, is a bloody godsend. And it is real good. I mean, it's clearly pretty hard wearing, because I've not been mega careful with moving it around, and as careful as I can be when I'm on my own. I've got a bad back. It's not the easiest thing to not ding against anything, but it hasn't, you know, it hasn't missed a beat. The powder coating's not chipped, even though it's had a good few whacks on stuff. So yeah, right, I'm going to plonk that in and start doing up some bolts. Right, that is the rear section on both sides bolted in, and although generally that can be some of the most awkward things to do, with this setup, it is a fucking dream come true, and I'll explain why. Firstly, normally this would be like a two-man job, because as you can imagine, you need somebody to hold them steady while you do the bolts up on the underside. But thanks to the wonders of MX5s, you can literally stand here and have one side in each hand. So you can hold it steady with that, thread it in with the other ones. Can't thread it far because it's lock nuts, no lock nuts. So just enough to get the thread on and done. So that is mega easy for one. And then for two, after that, because you can reach both sides, you just need either two 17mm spanners or a 70mm on this side and a ugga dugger on the other side, which is what I did. And you can, again, one in each hand, hold the 17mm in place there, and underneath I did it partly with a ratchet spanner, stuck partly with the Milwaukee, and just, you know, job done. No need for two people, no nothing. So dead easy. I'm very happy with that, because I thought of all the jobs on this cage that might be a pain on your own, that is not one of them. That's easy, mega easy. So now I just need to drill the holes for that, which I can do it while it's in situ, and that bit's done. Good times. I am quite pleased with my handiwork, and I can also report it's definitely something anybody can do. I'm no master mechanic. I've always played with cars, but don't mean I'm amazing at it, because I'm not. And yeah, this is very user friendly, and I tell you what, that's more than you can say for most things, especially roll cages, because that's the trouble with cages. As you can imagine, cars are all you know, they are accurate, but there can be differences, especially when they're older and things move and get bent and this, that, the other. And cages, again, because they're generally built on like a jig, it depends how accurate the person who's made it is, you know, and how accurate the jig is. But this thing is absolutely spot bollock on. Normally with cages, I mean, it's not even like a bad thing. It's like, it is just a given that with cages you tend to be using ratchet straps and stuff to pull it to the correct places and all that. You know, genuinely, it's not like a badly fitting cage thing. It's just one of those things. I've done it, I think I've done it, or needed to do it almost every time. You're using ratchet straps to get everything, you know, force the cage, bend the cage almost into the right place. But this is just bang on straight away, which makes things a lot less hassle, that's for sure. So yeah, let me drill these holes, and then we will do, well, I guess the door bars. And it's in, all of it, door bars and all. And I'm very happy to say it was painless. No modifications needed. It all literally went in as it's supposed to. Obviously I had to do the cutting at the back, but that is part of it, you know what I mean? It's like it literally bolts in where it's meant to bolt in. As I mentioned earlier in the video, I cut far more than I needed to, because this is far from a fully trimmed normal road car. But you can see now how little in reality you would have to cut. Basically, you would, if you was accurate enough, you'd only have to cut as big as the feet are, so you can slip it in. Same with these bits. I'm still not convinced you'd even need to fit them in. If there was two of you, so you could wiggle it round and you measured it properly, as far as I could see, you'd only have to honestly cut a square, well, a rectangle really, a tiny bit bigger than the rear feet. Obviously that takes some effort to get it accurate enough for that. And like I said, all of this is covered up with the trim pieces on a standard car anyway. So it's debatable, you know, depending on what kind of person you are, whether you want to. But looking at this now it's installed, I would say that's perfectly possible, in all honesty. And it's clearly made, you know, considering jigs are never perfect anyway, this is obviously very accurate, a good jig and good welding, because it's bloody close. Like I said, the only tip I would say is get bolts in the seatbelt positions first, because that basically lines it all up. And once that's in, it's pretty much impossible to go wrong. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it doesn't take an expert, it doesn't take any special tools, it doesn't take a lift. Do you know what I mean? You have to you'd have to have the rear wheels off and the back jacked up in the air a little bit to do it. I mean, this car's just on axle stands, but it didn't have to even be this high to do it. To be honest, it might have been a bit easier if it was closer to the ground. So yeah, honestly, I'm very pleasantly surprised, should I say, because I knew these were good, because everybody says they're good. But I also know most modified car parts, they're not exactly OEM fitment quality, but legit, this is fucking very good, very easy. I guess there's only one more thing to try, and that's sit the hardtop on it. And I mean, they're proven to fit, but let's do it anyway. Like a glove. Again, hard tops are a whole lot easier to get on when you're not on your own, because although they're not heavy, they're not exactly super light. Let's have a look at fitment with the hard top. Snug, which is good, because that's the problem with, wow, other ones I've seen. To try and clear the hard top, they clear by miles, so it's all a bit loose, whereas this is, you know, realistically as tight as you're getting, and it looks ace. Like I said, it's almost a shame to have the hard top back on, but I don't do convertibles, so you know, the hard top's going on, and my next job is to put those hard top mounts, the solid mounts on, which again I got from Bofi Racing ages ago, long before I got the rear cage from them. So yeah, job done. Next job will be to see if the seats fit. I reckon they won't, and I don't care, because this is badass. I need to get some black harnesses now too, because the harnesses I've got, they're good, very good, straight out of the same Evo 7, Evo 8, Evo 9, I can't remember, I think it was an Evo 9 rally car them carbon seats came out of, but they're blue, and this car's gonna be black, so blue don't really work. I kind of did this video, kind of show you how to do it. A lot of these places, oh yeah, it's easy, it's this, it's that, it's the other, but in reality, no. But as you've seen from this video, and me, I'm pretty brutally honest with a lot of things. Yeah, it's mint. It is really good. Everybody who's tried them says, yeah, they are like kind of the biggest single bracing improvement you can do on these cars. And it's understandable, like I said in the last video, without a solid roof, it's understandable that the bit between the front and the rear subframes, front and rear of the car, I mean, look at where the load is. A load in the car is where it touches the tarmac, so the 4 tyres. And there, and there, and then in the middle, wow, there's no roof as such, so it's all down to the floor. Which is another reason they say, you know, those frame rail braces, chassis rail braces, whatever you want to call them, sort of slip over the top of the original chassis rails under the car. That's why they supposedly make a good improvement, because on a convertible there is no top to hold it, there is no frame around it. You know, it's all down to this bit, the floor. So it's understandable why the door bars would out. And to be honest, maybe I'm wrong, but even fitting the hardtop with the solid hardtop mounts, the non-removable ones, should help stiffness a bit, because yeah, the hardtop's fiberglass, but it's rigid as hell. It's not flexible in any way. So removing any flex with the mounts that it holds to the car, plus that, is going to be a lot better than the original soft top. So yeah, all in all, pretty bloody pleased where it's going. Just got to put the engine and box in, which obviously we know they fit. We've had them in already as a mock-up. And then the last main job to do to the car, after the seats I suppose, is make it look presentable, because as you can well see, it looks like shit. It is rust free. It's one of the most rust free UK NA MX5s there probably has been for a long time, because most of these are rusty as hell, and this one isn't, which is pretty incredible. But it looks like shit. The paint's terrible, everything's terrible. That looks cool from the back, don't it? Yeah, I like that. showing back the boot lid, kind of letting the side down, to say the least. But yeah, that's awesome. Anyway, enough of this. Hope you like this video, and stay tuned for plenty more, because this is really giving me a bit of a boost on wanting to get this thing on the road, because I know how mega it's going to be. So yeah, I can't wait. Anyway, hope you liked it, and I will see you next time. Make sure you like and subscribe and all that shenanigans, because although this channel's growing, I mean, it's got 7,500 subscribers now, they're still tiny, you know. So can I have millions, please, so I can actually make some money, because this doesn't make me any money. I think I make about 80 quid a month off YouTube. It's not an earner, not for me, but for some people, hell yeah it is. Anyway, I'm off. Bye.